Hey guys, and welcome back to Once Been Playing, the show where we put a spotlight on select video games and answer that lifelong question of, what is really worth playing? Now I know what you're thinking. The one and only Benji, you're a gamer! You can't possibly be outside. Well, as much as I would love to agree with you, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree and say that you're dead fucking wrong! Today's topic will be a bit more physical, if you know what I mean. Now, playing the Wii Sports game, it's no joke. I mean, you gotta be in tip-top shape to review these kinds of games. And look at me, I'm in no shape to be doing that. So that's why I decided to come out here today and practice so I'm ready to review them. As you can see, I'm playing the part, and I have all the equipment I need right here.
It looks like it's time for a sports montage.
Oh shit! Jesus Christ, who thought this would be so hard? Whoa, wait, who said I was ready yet?
Come the fuck on, I can make this. Just this one shot.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Ah!
Holy shit, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
Oh my god. This is terrible. Who thought this would be a good idea? Oh god. Ah! Ow. Well, nothing like some good old-fashioned trauma to whip a man into shape. Hello guys, and welcome. It seems teaching myself to play sports didn't all work out all that well, and will probably involve some trips to therapy, but in the meantime, we can always talk about sports. The Wii Sports series is the focus of our discussion today. I originally was going to do just a video on Nintendo Switch Sports, which released at the end of April, but I thought it would be nice to take a quick look at all of them since they're all quite similar. Minus Wii Sports Club, as I don't have a Wii U, but can at least talk about my personal experience with it since I did play it when I did have one. Any Nintendo console owner knows about Wii Sports. Heck, if you've never played it before, have you really lived? There's no denying that these games struck a chord with general audiences all over and served as not only good tech demos, but hella decent minigame compilations as well. As you can see, I have today's subjects of our review lined up right here. Today we're going to be looking at Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, a retrospective on Wii Sports Club, and our main event, Nintendo Switch Sports. The question is, do the older titles hold up as fun and enjoyable minigame compilations, and do the newer games capture the spirit that the older ones had? Well, that's what we're here to find out. So get out your Wiimotes and your Joy-Cons, and let's take a look at the Wii Sports lineup. Ah, the Wii. Fuck Olive Garden when you have cool electronic breadsticks like these. Our story begins at E3 2006. Among a plethora of big announcements coming left and right, Nintendo was ready to present the Nintendo Revolution, or the Wii, to the masses and show them what it was capable of. With the Wii on the horizon, I'm sure a lot of gamers were wondering how a console based mostly on motion controls would function. How is it going to set itself apart from the titans that were the Xbox 360 and PS3? I mean, look at this controller. It sure looked different from what the other consoles required you to use. Along with a variety of different titles being shown for the console, backwards compatibility, the Virtual Console, and a demonstration of how different games would utilize the unique controller, Nintendo also prepared Wii Sports, which looked to be some kind of tech demo for the system. Shigeru Miyamoto and everyone else on stage was swinging the Wii Remote, which would simulate the hitting of a tennis ball, which at the time seemed like a really unique idea. It was announced that the collection would feature a variety of different sports that would make use of the motion control capabilities of the Wii Remote. I mean, when you really think about it, a sports title was a perfect way to demonstrate this kind of gimmick. I mean, the Wiimote looks like a tennis racket already, right? It was a perfect way to emulate playing something like tennis or baseball that involved moving your body to play. The Wii also looked like it was trying to appeal to a more casual crowd, creating a control scheme that was easier for anyone to understand. I mean, everyone knows how to play tennis or use a bowling ball. It was a game that would be easy to get the whole family together and just have a good time without needing to understand what button does what. Yeah, nowadays motion controls sometimes feel gimmicky and sometimes distracting, but at the time, the technology seemed quite innovative. As many people know, Wii Sports would go on to be the pack-in title for the system, solidifying itself as one of the highest-selling video games of all time, partially thanks to... Man, everyone must have been dying to play Barnyard on the Wii, I guess. The Wii was pretty much one of Nintendo's greatest successes, selling over 100 million units. Now that's quite the achievement. And it can't be stated how iconic Wii Sports is. It was everybody's taste as to how these little things can be just as functional as these. Along with the system, the game came in this convenient little sleeve that the disc slides into. Cool and all, but sticks out like a sore thumb in collections. Well, let's put this puppy in for old time's sake and take a trip down memory lane, shall we? The amount of times I must have heard that intro. As opposed to a collection of in-depth, complicated sports games, what we have here is kind of like a minigame collection, featuring 5 different sports to play here. Tennis, baseball, bowling, golf, and boxing. You just select the game, select your Mii, assuming you have made one, and you play. Like I said, each of the games function exactly how their real-world counterparts are. Each of the games are very simple, not going in-depth past what casual audiences would expect. Diet versions, if you prefer. For example, tennis has your characters move towards the ball automatically, or in a game like baseball, any kind of fielding is done without any input. It's a very simplified version of these sports. There are no button combinations you have to remember, or confusing setups. You literally just swing the Wii remote depending on what game you're playing, minus boxing, which makes use of the controller's nunchuck accessory to simulate a second hand to make it feel more realistic. Thanks to that, these games are so easy to explain to people since everybody kind of gets the controls. Since we're only dealing with 5 games here, let's take a look at each game and see how they utilize the controls. First up, tennis. Pretty much the most iconic game in this collection, and probably responsible for a few broken TVs.
All I do is throw that ball up in the air, and when oh, jeez, and there goes the tennis racket. I didn't have it on there all the way.
You, alongside your identical twin, have a doubles match with a duo who also happens to be identical twins, assuming there's one person per team. As the rules of tennis state, first to score 4 points without entering a deuce wins. This game's probably the easiest to explain. All you gotta do is just swing the Wii remote to simulate hitting the tennis ball. Probably the game that best simulates the real thing given the simple nature of the motions and the shape of the controller. Honestly, super responsive and easy to pick up. Probably one of the best games here. Oh no. It's Matt. Baseball is next. Each player takes a turn on offense and defense throughout each inning. As defense, you can pitch different kinds of throws and throw it at varying speeds, which is neat and all, but I usually end up just waggling the Wiimote whenever I'm pitching. Any sort of fielding is done automatically, and the number of bases that the team on the offense gets to go is usually determined by how long it takes for the defense to pick up the ball. On the side of offense, you just swing or bunt the bat. Not much else to it. Playing this again made me realize how easy it is to get a home run, sometimes scoring multiple runs per inning. Ever heard of a mercy rule? Overall, pretty fun. Bowling. Probably the most iconic game on the collection. Holding the B button, you just swing back and make a rolling motion to bowl. The motion controls feel surprisingly accurate here. You're able to adjust your shot, so there is some strategy thrown into the mix. This game alongside golf allows up to 4 people to play with one Wiimote, using a hot seat style multiplayer where each player takes a turn holding the Wiimote. I'll probably rank this one up with tennis as one of the best sports here. Golf. Oy vey. You hit up the green and just have to hit the ball into the hole. Getting straight to the point, I don't like this one. The controls just don't feel right. Every time I'm about to swing, I'm usually way off or it didn't register my movements. It can be super frustrating as swinging too hard will affect this meter right here and cause your shot to veer off in a direction you didn't want it to, or could make you swing harder than anticipated when trying to putt. I swear, I'm not that bad. Probably my least favorite of the bunch here. It just felt like its motion controls needed some more fine-tuning. Boxing. The only game that requires the nunchuck. As I said, slipping that in emulates using your left and right hand to make things feel more natural. During the match, you have these pie-shaped stamina meters here, and if you couldn't guess, the first person to deplete the other stamina gauge gets a knockout and wins. You have a bunch of different punches that you can throw, which can sometimes give you the upper hand if you make use of each one properly. Also, I love how your opponent just flops like a ragdoll when you knock him out. Very funny. I like that. Other than that, there is a training and fitness mode which might involve you monitoring progress or let you practice in one of the sports, but that's really it. Nothing more than a simple distraction and a means for a single player to get something out of this game.
I don't really think I could think of a better tech demo for a console if I could. Even with its simplicity, Wii Sports still has this level of control that still feels responsive and fun today. The choice of sports is just perfect for letting consumers know what the Wii is all about control-wise, and getting the whole family along to play. Leave it to Nintendo that can make a tech demo that's hours of fun and worthy of being replayed. But our adventure with the Wii Sports series does not end there, obviously. You'd think that with a title like Wii Sports, it would just serve to be a tech demo for the console to introduce people as to what the motion control capabilities could do, right? I mean, it's not that far off to believe that. Well, as it turns out, a few years later, we got ourselves another game.
As if this breadstick wasn't long enough, Nintendo decided to make it longer with the advent of the Wii Motion Plus, an accessory that enhanced the motion capabilities of the controller. For older models, you would just stick this little thing into the bottom of your remote, and voila, your motion has been enhanced. New models of the Wii Remote have this feature built inside, called the Wii Remote Plus, which makes things easier. But with the new peripheral came a new tech demo to show it off. But honestly, this game is not as much of a tech demo as you would expect it to be. Wii Sports Resort released in 2009 with the accessory included. Rather than a simple collection of 5 sports, Resort gives us a more tropical setting with a total of 12 sports this time around. Welcome to the scenic Woohoo Island. I love when Nintendo uses this place, whether it's a Mario Kart track, a Smash Bros. Stage. It's just so cool. The plethora of different towns, the ancient-looking castle, and the big-ass volcano in the center. Given our setting, each sport feels a bit more vacation-esque, if you know what I mean. In this collection, we have swordplay, wakeboarding, frisbee, archery, basketball, table tennis, golf, bowling, power cruising, canoeing, cycling, and air sports. Quite the loaded collection. A lot of the games fit that resort aesthetic pretty well, and each area of the island has sections where each of the games take place. Playing basketball in the town, cycling along the windy mountain roads, or playing golf on a smaller island right by the main one. I will say, some of the games do feel better and more accurate with the Wii Motion Plus. Some games like archery absolutely benefit from that enhanced level of precision, and it's honestly pretty fun. Or take swordplay. Depending on the direction that you swing or block with the Wiimote, it actually does make a difference and will impact if you get a hit or not. The games all still retain that simple but fun atmosphere, with them still being easy to pick up and play. What I love about Wii Sports Resort is that it finds a way to still be simple but include a sizable amount of depth into its games. While I mentioned earlier that we have 12 sports to choose from, most of them have individual modes inside of them that involve the same gameplay style. Take swordplay again. There's a duel mode, a speed slice mode to see who can slice the object first, or a showdown mode where you The games feel like they're full of content this time around, creating an experience that can be enjoyed even by yourself, honestly. All the sports are so fun to go back to and practice to get a better score. Some old sports even come back with a new makeover. Rather than a game of tennis, we have ourselves a game of table tennis. Probably one of the best games in the pack. It just feels so fluent and snappy. Rather than a simple, boring 10-pin game of bowling, how about 100 pins? Yeah, that's right. The old games feel fresh enough to blend in with the new ones, which use the Wiimote in a bunch of new creative ways. The Island Flyover. Oh man. Easily my favorite game in the collection. Just you and a couple of minutes to explore the entirety of Woohoo Island, and it can't be understated how awesome this is. Just look, you can shoot little balloons, find information marks with info about the landmarks. It's also... Wait a minute. Why isn't my engine working? That's not supposed to happen. Oh god, we're gonna die! Oh yeah, the dogs in the Frisbee game are cute too. I also wanted to mention that. Wii Sports Resort is one of the coolest games on the Wii in my opinion. It's loaded with a ton of content for each of the games, and it's a game that can be enjoyed in single player or multiplayer. And the level of control present thanks to the Wii Motion Plus is fantastic.
Even today, I go back to this game because of how well it holds up. From a tech demo to a standalone game, and a great one at that. The Wii Sports name is one that many Wii owners can look back on fondly. It was a great way to get the family into the room together to play some games that were easy to understand, but not completely devoid of skill. Our next game, however, is one that I kind of forgot about when I was writing the script for this review. Unfortunately, since this is a Wii U title, I do not have the means to record it as I do not own the console anymore, so this will more so be a retrospective of the game, giving my thoughts on it when I did own it. But trust me, I wasn't planning on talking about Wii Sports Club for long in the first place.
The Wii U. Oh right, there was a console in between the Wii and Switch. In all fairness, the console had a solid library of titles that was oozing with that Nintendo charm, but it just wasn't as impressive or appealing as Sony or Microsoft's offerings. A bulky gamepad with poor battery life, little to no third-party support, poor marketing. It's a story that I don't need to get into. However, we did see a Wii Sports game come to the system with Wii Sports Club in 2013 on the eShop and in 2014 as a retail release. Wii Sports Club essentially serves as a HD remake of the original game, featuring the original 5 sports that made the game so popular. The game also features online play as well as Wii Motion Plus support, so these games can be played in a new light. But if there's one thing I do remember from the one time I did play it, was that it had a very weird means of releasing its games. What do I mean by that? Well, the game launched initially with only 2 games, bowling and tennis. For all of the games, you had to either purchase the sport or rent the game for a certain amount of time, so downloading Wii Sports Club didn't mean that you had the entire product. This whole renting thing was super weird in my opinion, and just begs the question as to why they wouldn't just wait to release the retail version that had all of the sports included. More of the games would be added to the list throughout 2013, but you still had to purchase them. It's not like there is much difference from them anyway. From the looks of it, it looks like HD versions of the sports. That's cool, I guess. I know it sounds like I did nothing to bring attention to the sports, but I mean, what is there to say? I already talked about them a few minutes ago, minus a few extra modes sort of like the ones that were in Resort, but that's not saying much. As I mentioned earlier, yes, there was a retail version in 2014 with all the sports included, so if you have to pick it up and try it, you probably want to try this one. Of all the games in this small series, Wii Sports Club received the lowest score from reviewers. It's lacking in content that made Resort so special, and while enhanced control and online play is cool, it's not as fun since what made Wii Sports so special was how it could be played by anyone. Yeah, anyone can play Wii Sports Club, but just the fact that it was on the Wii U already kind of alienates casual gamers.
Well, we sure whizzed through that. I mean, what else more was to say about it? It was such a forgettable minigame compilation that it was barely worth talking about. We already got this game back in 2006. But that is going to conclude our trip through memory lane.
The Wii Sports on the Wii can be considered classics on the system, solidifying themselves as games that aren't just good tech demos, but extremely fun experiences that are enjoyable to play. Wii Sports did a great job at demonstrating the motion control capabilities and incorporating them into an enjoyable sports compilation, and Resort came along to up that ante and deliver a game that had so many different modes and sports to try that it would leave you with tons of content. Yeah, Club was unremarkable, but it's merely a small stain on the legacy of these games. But now it's on to our main event. This game serves more as a standalone game, just like how Resort and Club was. After the mixed reception Club got, however, this was definitely a perplexing announcement from the big end, but nonetheless, an interesting one. So let's see what it's all about. Let's go back to February 9th of this year. Nintendo hosted their first, and as of this recording, only Nintendo Direct of the year. As usual, a plethora of cool announcements were thrown around here and there, but definitely one of the most interesting announcements was the upcoming Nintendo Switch Sports, a new entry in the Wii Sports series. From the looks of it, it looks like we had something a bit more akin to the original game, featuring more standard sports that were seen in the OG. But we also got to look at some different sports coming to the mix too, like volleyball, badminton, and soccer. An online free play test was hosted from February 18th to February 20th for Nintendo Switch Online members, and while I didn't participate, I heard from friends that it was good fun. It looked like a much snappier, fast-paced kind of Wii Sports, and the new sports seemed like a lot of fun. And as of this recording, this mode isn't available, but it also mentioned that golf would be added later as a sport, so hey, there's the potential of sports being added in the form of free DLC, which is cool. Maybe this time I won't absolutely suck at golf. Fast forward to April 29th, and the game finally hit store shelves.
As I said earlier, I was still looking forward to this game to come out, and I was excited to see what new sports they brought to the table, but I was only really expecting it to be a multiplayer experience as opposed to something like Wii Sports Resort that had a bunch of content. So let's see how this game stacks up to the predecessors.
What we have here are a collection of 6, at the time of this video, different sports to choose from. As you can see, it has a very similar setup to Wii Sports where you just pick a sport and play it. Unfortunately, the different modes seen in Resort are gone, which is a bit of a bummer. In this collection, we have tennis, bowling, chambra, or swordplay, badminton, soccer, and volleyball. This time around, you can either play against each other online or locally. Playing online this time has a bit more of an emphasis as earning points nets you the ability to get accessories for your sportsmates. Gone are the Miis of old, though you can still choose to use one if you'd like. Now you have the ability to customize your own player with different styles and whatnot. It's a bit restricting at first, but getting more gear gives you more options as you go on. Starting with the returning sports, they feel quite similar to their Wii counterparts with a few changes. Tennis and bowling function very similar for the most part, aside from that enhanced level of motion thanks to the Joy-Cons. This enhanced level of motion can help you do things like serve a lob in tennis, or a hook in bowling to create a more realistic experience. Chambra has more of an emphasis on blocking or parrying attacks, which can lead to some seriously intense matches at times if both players know what they're doing. This game has a selection of different swords you can pick from, so you can find your playstyle and go forward with that. One thing I will give Nintendo Switch Sports credit for is that the game still feels simple to play, but there is a learning curve to really master them. It's a really nice touch. There is a way to get better at these games, and I like that. The older sports still feel like how they did, but you can just feel that this is a more involved experience thanks to what the Joy-Cons allow you to do. Now this feels like what Wii Sports Club was supposed to be going for. Tennis especially felt much more intense. I don't know if it was just because we were playing on higher difficulties, but it got genuinely intense when my friend and I were getting footage for this. The newer sports, for the most part, try to deviate from the idea that the Joy-Con acts as an object or a ball you can hold in one hand, and try to get a little more creative. Volleyball is the best example and probably my favorite in the whole game. It has a heavy emphasis on rhythm, bumping, spiking, and blocking the ball at the right time to maintain a steady level of flow to ensure that your team can get a point. For example, setting up the ball with correct timing can lead to your spike being way more powerful. With friends, this can be a super cooperative and fierce game, and it genuinely pumped me up. Easily, in my opinion, the best sport in the entire collection, and probably the one I spent the most time with, both recording and not recording. Badminton is a bit like tennis, but there is much more of a focus on how you hit the ball. Both players go back and forth hitting the shuttlecock horizontally or vertically. Ideally, the best time to score is if the player hits the shuttlecock a little too early or late, allowing the other player to smash it down onto their side. This game, in my opinion, feels like the most like you were actually playing it, which is kind of refreshing. It perks you up a bit when you make a move that you would actually make when playing the real sport. Soccer is last, and probably the most abstract. You and 3 others on your team are put on a field where everyone has to run after the giant soccer ball, and kick it into the goal. It sort of reminds me of a slower Rocket League on foot. The only annoying thing is the stamina meter, which drains pretty quickly, so actually getting to the ball can take a bit, but it's a super unique take on the sport. Players are able to pass the ball to one another, and you're able to intercept it in the air, which is pretty nice. Not to mention, the physical version came with a leg strap you can put on to try with the shootout mode. Wow, it's like I'm really there now. Nintendo Switch Sports definitely feels like a worthy successor to the legacy of the original games. By combining simple controls with an in-depth system to master each one, Nintendo Switch Sports can be a great way to pass some time and have some competitive game nights. Though I would say the only thing holding it back is that it's more so enjoyed with other people as opposed to a single-player game, unless you're playing online. But if you want to hop online or play with some friends, you have yourself a hella decent sports compilation.
And that was the Wii Sports series. I think I'll stick to virtual sports after my incident. Wii Sports, given its purpose as a tech demo, really didn't have the right to be as well designed as it was, but Nintendo did a great job at enticing people about the capabilities of the Wii and the Wii Remote. Not only that, we got a few great games that followed that really expanded upon the foundation that Wii Sports built. Who would have thought that sports compilations would be some of the Big N's most well-remembered titles? I would say that Wii Sports Resort is still the best out of all of them given the abundance of modes and whatnot, but it can't be denied about how quick and fast-paced the games in Nintendo Switch Sports feel to help create a more competitive atmosphere. After the beast of my Pokemon Legends video, I wanted to create something that was a bit more lax and shorter than the previous video. I am really hoping that in post, that this video is not as long as that, but I guess I can't control myself sometimes. Next time, I will be taking a look at Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Nintendo Switch, since I've been meaning to do a review on this one as well for a while because it's hella fun. Also, I do plan on doing another retro game marathon in the future. It would be a bit of a longer marathon though, so I would probably be splitting it up between newer releases, so it would probably be a few episodes of said game series, and then whatever new game is coming out, or whatever I feel like looking at. So expect that in the future. But well, that's all from me for this time. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.